All right. So this call is hosted by the Center Research Academy. It's just a research group in Cameroon where we want to encourage ourselves as young professionals to engage in research. We do a number of things which we're going to share at the end of the presentation once we've done with the crux of the matter. So today we are talking about opportunities for Cameroonian medics in the UK, in the US, in Canada, and we want to share. It's not a lecture, but we're sharing with you our opportunities based on our various journeys that we've had over time. So that is the reason for today's session. We're going to follow this program. We're going to have an introduction, which is already ongoing. We're going to talk about the opportunities in the US, in Canada, and in the UK. We're going to have a question and answer session. And in the end, we're going to have a picture, a screenshot, basically. We usually want to have pictures when we close so that we just keep memories. You never know where you'll meet somebody, but that picture can always remind you. But this is not going to be shared. It's just going to be kept in our archives and given to only those who want their pictures to be shared, basically. So what are we going to be talking today? We want to share our journeys. We want to help you make the path straight. And we're going to be talking about specific opportunities, study, work opportunities, and basically the next phase of postgraduate life. Most of us are in health-related fields, which is the essence of this presentation. And at the end of our course, we always find it difficult to continue. Coming from Cameroon, we know the landscape of employment and the GDP power of healthcare personnel. So it's an opportunity for us to share with you our challenges and maybe where we think that you're going to do better if you have the information we are sharing already. So that is just the reason of our presentation today. So about our speakers, we're going to have 4 speakers from left to right, right to left. I always get confused with these things, so please pardon me. It's Isaac Chair. He's a medical doctor by training, completed medical school among the top 1% of medical graduates in 2019. And amazing, he worked for 1 year or so, and then had a scholarship to study a master's in public health at the University of Washington in St. Louis as a McDonald's scholar. I would want to keep this brief because we're going to have a formal introduction when his time comes, but that is who he's going to be. I'm going to be sharing with us his journey and how we got to this learning and working opportunity. It's interesting to just let you know what this like, how this looks like, but I'm going to let you let him share that. And we also have Josephine Nambania. I hope I'm pronouncing the name well. Please, apologies, Josephine, if I don't pronounce your name well. But Josephine is a PhD candidate still at the University of Washington in St. Louis, and she has done a lot of work. I'm still going to do the formal introduction when she has the floor. And we have Dr. Divine Sim. He's a medical doctor as well, completed among the top 5% of his promotion, and he's a Commonwealth Scholar 2020-2021. He completed his MSc in public health, and currently he's a registered physician with the NHS in the UK. So he's going to be sharing us his journey, not just about the study opportunity, but how he got in and how he's been able to pivot from school into working as a registered physician in the UK, basically. So that's his journey. And last but not least, most importantly, we have Bronhida Tifutake, who also is a medical doctor, and she completed among the top 1%. Yes, I'm right about that, the top 1% in med school, and she's also a doctor, a public health expert, and an epidemiologist at the British Columbia Center in Canada. Yeah, we're going to have formal introduction. So these are the people who will be talking to you. And my humble self, I'll just be there coordinating, and then I'll tell you people about my own journey to getting into Oxford and the opportunities that are available in Oxford. and what we think, why I think that it's an opportunity that none of us should miss. So on that note, we're going to get started, and I'm going to be introducing our first speaker, who is Dr. Isaac Chair. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Dr. Isaac, I don't know if you're there. If you're there, please, you have control. If you have a slide, you can go on sharing, as well as if it's a discussion, we can start it. Dr. Isaac, I don't know if you can get me.
Yeah, I can hear you, Dr. Ngek. Thank you so much. And once more, I would just want to say a very, very warm greeting and welcome to all the participants. And as you rightly mentioned, Dr. Ngek, I'm not here alone from this part of the world. I am with a senior colleague here at the Academy. Her name is Josephine Labayinda. Sorry about the pronunciation, Josephine. So, but I think she would get a more formal introduction later by the moderator. So that's that. I also want to recognize, that I am in the midst of greatness, because when I look at the panelists, I mean, I know Dr. Take Bronhida from secondary school. She was like a senior and we all looked up to her. I know Dr. Tim from medical school. He was like a senior. We all looked up to him. Dr. Ngek was a senior to me in medical school, a guide, a mentor. We all looked up to him as well. And Josephine is more like a senior to me and a guide here at the Academy. So I really feel honored to be amongst this panel, and also to you, the attendees. I respect your achievements. You've done a lot, and it's indeed a pleasure for me to share maybe this brief, if I would call it like that, information which may contribute to your journey in one way or another. So I'm not taking this for granted. I really appreciate this opportunity from the Sincere Research Academy. And if you permit me, I would probably just share my screen. Is that okay, Dr. Ngek?
Yeah, you have the opportunity to do so. All right, so while Dr. Isaac shares his screen, I'm just going to read through a brief bio. Dr. Isaac is a medical doctor by training. He schooled in St. Francis College, Fiambokumba, where he completed and had his A levels, among the best students in the school at the time, and got into biochemistry, and then got into medical school, where he also completed 7 years later, among the best students at the time. Like I earlier said, he is not just a medical doctor. He he is also the founder of Final Medical Products. It's a medical it's about medical company startup in Cameroon, and yes, I think most 10 employees already, and they're making strides. So it's interesting how he blends both academia and his work basically. So that is who Isaac is. This year he got the scholarship into as a McDonald's scholar in the university there in the US, and it's been a very transformational journey. Dr. Isaac, I'm very happy that you accepted this call, and it's humbling to always have you around. So you have the floor. If you feel free, you have the floor. You have the floor. No more talking. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you once more, Dr. Ngek. And so okay. Yeah, so I was happy when you mentioned that you're organizing this webinar, and when you also mentioned that I should share a little bit about what the opportunities which exist out there for postgraduate medics, especially for the US, and how my own personal journey was like. So I think we won't use the full time. I think this is something which we can discuss in about maybe 5 or 10 minutes, but depending on if maybe there are questions, then we may extend a bit longer. So when we talk about applying for postgraduate studies in the US for medics, what comes to mind? There are 3 options. So the first option is master's. By master's, it could be an MPH or an MBA. And the second option is a PhD or a postdoc. And the third option is residency. So my senior colleague, Dr. Josephine Nabayinda, she will talk to us about PhD opportunities here in the US. So I won't mention anything about that. About residency, I think residency options in the US requires its own webinar. So I won't dive much into that, but I'll just say there is a website which has almost all information you need to know about residency in the US. This is the website down here, ecfmg.org. So as of now, in Africa, just FYI for your information, the countries which host these residency exams for now is just Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, Uganda, and Egypt. So, but if you need more information about the registration process and everything you need, we won't have enough time in this webinar to dive into that. But this website is your go-to place for all that information. So this leaves us with this side of the slide. So masters. That's why in the next maybe 5 minutes or so, we are going to spend, almost all the time we have discussing about masters, opportunities for masters in the US, be it MPH and MBA. So what do you need to apply for a master's degree in the US? First, you need your degree or your attestation. So if maybe you've graduated already, but your degree is still at the level of the faculty, this would be a good time to pick that up. If maybe you're yet to graduate or you'd graduate next year, but your school or your department can give you an attestation to show that you've completed your coursework. There are some schools in the US that also accept that. You would need your academic transcript. But however, schools in the US, they receive applications from all over the world. So they have to find a way of standardizing these transcripts. So there is an organization called, we'll talk about that, called World Education Services. So from all over the world, you send your transcripts, if you're applying to the US or to Canada, you send your transcripts to this organization, then they convert what you had in your school to the equivalent in a US or a Canadian school. They send you back a copy and then send copies to the schools which you're applying to. So you need to get your transcript from your school. And for those of us from Boya or Bamenda, but I think most schools as well, you can just walk up to the transcript office. When we talk about West, I'll show you their website. You'll get their information from there. You apply for the transcript, walk up to your transcript office and ask them to ship the transcript directly to that address. So for those of us in Boya and Bamenda, I think that should cost about 35,000 francs or so. The next thing you need are your letters. I just combined these as letters. So these include your personal statements, letters of motivation, and recommendation letters. Now, personal statements and letters of recommendation will require their own webinar, or maybe some of my other colleagues will talk about that. But one thing I would just say is that you should write your letters as early as possible. And you can wake up every morning or every day and look at it, look at your letters with a set of fresh eyes. If possible, share these letters with people you trust, people who can give you good constructive feedbacks. Also, if possible, I would recommend 4 recommendation letters, at least 4. And these 4, if let's say you've graduated and you're working, 2 can be academic, like from your school, and then 2 from your place of work. So, and there's a tendency for, the older professors, those who are a bit more busy, they would want you to write these letters by yourself and send to them for validation. I will not advised that you write, let's say you're going in for 4 recommendation letters and you write all 4 and send to these professors to visa, because as an individual, it's almost impossible, to dissociate all these 4 letters. There would be an iota of repetition of who you are in all these 4 letters, and it would clearly show that this is from one author. So if possible, you could look for 2 recommenders who maybe may ask you to write the letters by yourself, and then 2 that you're sure will be able to draft the letters on their own. So you could divide it up like that. Then you would also need English proficiency, where you may not need, because there are some schools in the US, in fact, most schools in the US, since the start of COVID, do no longer require these English language exams. But I would say that it does strengthen your application. So if you can get if you can get the exams, that's either the TOEFL or the IELTS or the Duolingo or the OET, any of them, if you can get this, I would say it's a plus. You also need money. It's a bit much, I would say, because, for example, in applying for Masters in Public Health, for the first program you're applying to, it costs $145 US. For each program that you add to this first program, it costs $55 extra. So if you're applying for one program, $155. The second program, you add $55. The third, you add another $55, just like that. And this was where you send your transcript for them to validate. You also pay them $160. And the TOEFL or the English test also would cost some money. And as well, you need an academic CV. So those are the requirements which you should have in hand when considering applying for a master's in public health or MBA or any other master's in the US. So these are the 2 main websites that you will be working with. For SOFAS, you would work with the sofas.org. And for the credentialing, which we spoke about for the transcripts, you will be working with wes.org. Let me just show you what that looks like. I think so. This is how the SOFAS platform looks like. Well, if you all can see. So when you get on the website, they will ask you to create an account. And when you create the account, you sign in. So this is how the page looks like for the application. The application has 4 parts. This is the first part, which is just your personal information, demographics, citizenship, family, race, and all of that. The second part is just your academic history. They will ask about your transcript, high school, colleges, and all of that. The third part is just supporting information. This is where your letters of recommendation and every other thing, licenses and certificates which you've achieved. This comes in here. And the fourth part is the program materials. This is where you choose the schools that you're applying to. So this website has all the schools in the US that offer public health programs. So all the schools in the US that offer public health are found in this website. You just have to come, there is a list which will be generated on this place. So you choose which schools you want SOFAS to send your application to, and SOFAS will automatically send the applications to that school. So when you open the WES website, it also opens up like this. If you have an account, you can sign in. But I just wanted to show you something here. WES has a tool which permits you to estimate your GPA even before you can send it to them. So if you click here, you can start, put in your information here, and we're not going to do that now for time's sake. And they would ask you about your school, the grades on your transcript, And when you put all of that in, you put your courses as well in, they would convert the grade which is on your transcript to a GPA, which tells you whether you even qualify, since most of the schools will be asking for cutoffs. So you can do that, and you even qualify for a school even before you send in your application. So these two websites, you should keep them close if you're planning to apply for MPH or MBA or any other masters in the US, especially this. This is just for MPH, but all applications in the US where you need a transcript, you need to work with WES. So for the 2022-2023 season, we can work with this timeline. Most of the applications opened up already. They opened up in August. So before August, what you needed to do is you needed to have prepared those materials, and you needed to have done some research on the schools that you want to apply to. So most of the programs have a priority deadline in December. So in this is when you stand the highest chance to get a scholarship from these universities. So in December, some of them by the 15th of December, some of them by ending December. But most of the schools have a general deadline for March. Now, if you're applying by this March, you still stand a chance for scholarships, but not as much as if you applied in the priority deadline. Most outcomes are released in April, and most interviews for external scholarships and visa interviews take place in May. I would suggest, if you have an admission schedule, your visa interview in May, because of the crowding that usually occurs by July, August, September. And then by August 2023, the fall semester for 2023 to 2024 academic year begins. So I would say you should set specific goals. You should not just say, I want to study in the US and MPH. You should set goals. You should say, after this, maybe after this webinar, by the end of today, I would write a personal statement, or by the end of today, I'll reach out to this professor or this one and ask if they can write me a letter of recommendation. So set specific goals. You should measure your progress. You should hold yourself accountable. And there is something which we call serotonin. When you set goals which are specific and realistic, you're able to attain these goals, and then you have a little kick of serotonin. That is addictive. It pushes you to work more so that you can achieve more. So you should set goals which are realistic. If not, when you fail, there is a tendency you might be compelled to stop trying. And always, as we saw in the last slide, we're already running out of time because you have less than a month for those who did not start preparing already. So all your activities should be time bound. For the universities which I'm aware of, or for some, because there are just so many, but I handpicked these because they are amongst the top 10 universities in the US, and they are providing full funding. The Washington University in St. Louis has what they call the Dean's Scholarship Program. If you are a competitive applicant, you are eligible for full funding with stipend that you can live on comfortably and send money back home. Emory University in Atlanta is one of the best public health schools in the US. It shares the same campus. The university shares the same campus as the CDC. So they offer fully funded scholarships, and you even have an internship to work in the CDC, and you're being paid as well. Johns Hopkins and University of California, Berkeley, and Harvard University, these three are 1 year. Their public health schools is a 1 year program. That's 11 months, while the others are 2 years. So the Johns Hopkins also offers full funding. University of California, Berkeley was the #1 school of public health in the US last year. The rankings might have changed, but as of last year, it was the first. For Stanford University is, I think, the third right now. It's a very good school. And they also have a program which offers fully funded scholarships to students. So there are so many out there, but I handpicked these because these are amongst the top 10, and it is possible. I say it is possible because someone as average as me could get offers like that from some of these universities. So I think all of us are qualified, and probably we should give it a go. Then there are some external programs. So the first is the McDonald Scholars Academy. Dr. Josephine will speak about that. That's the program I am in currently. That's the program she is in currently. So it's affiliated to Washington University in St. Louis, and it's a very good program, fully funded, good mix of races, good camaraderie. And the program, you know, she'll talk about it. It's just so fantastic. And it's the program we currently are in. There is the MasterCard Foundation. They work in collaboration with University of California, Berkeley, which I told you about in the previous slide. There is the World Bank Scholarship. They work in collaboration with the Japanese government. And they work in collaboration with the Japanese government. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize my video has been off all this while. Dr. Ngek, can you, is that okay? All right, good. So the World Bank works in collaboration with the Japanese government, and they are offering fully funded scholarships in at the Johns Hopkins University. There is a program called the William H. Furch Scholarship. They pay for your tuition and your university fees completely. They give you a lot of money to live comfortably in Atlanta, Georgia, because they are in partnership with Emory. They secure you internship opportunities at CDC, and they pay you for the internship opportunities at CDC and secure a postgraduate position after you graduate from Emory, preferably at CDC. The Knight Hennessy is another program which is in collaboration with the Stanford University. So they sponsor you for up to 3 years, and it's also a fully funded program, and it's so nice. The Fulbright program is a program also that sponsors international students to study in the US on a fully funded scholarship scheme. So I won't go into details of any of this because I think the goal here is just to make you aware that these are the scholarships that exist. You can dive into them when you're doing your research or when you're applying. And hopefully, if you run into any hiccups or difficulties, you can get back to anyone. You could get back to me, you could get back to Dr. Ngek or to anyone, and I'm sure we'll be able to provide as much assistance as possible. So this is how the Washington University in St. Louis campus looks like over the fall. So this picture is on their website, but this is just how the campus looked like a few days ago when we went for classes. So these are some of the programs and some of the scholarship opportunities for masters in public health in the US. If maybe we have 2 or 3 minutes, the second part, which was required, is to talk a bit about my own personal journey, which I would be glad to share, if that is okay. Dr. Ngek, do I still have?
Yeah, go on. You have 60 seconds. You have 120 seconds, so 2 minutes is fine.
Oh, thank you. So, yeah. So briefly about me. I was born here in Fiango, Kumba. Those of you who know where Fiango is. So this is the Lutheran Church, and there is a road that goes behind this road. So this is where I grew up. This is where I was born, and it's a bit significant because growing up in this kind of area, you have every excuse if you turn up average. That's it's not your fault. No one gets to blame you. And I think this might be the reason why I was actually the first from my family to graduate from high school and to graduate from university. I I also think this is part of the reasons why growing up I didn't know how to buckle a seatbelt. And even when I went to the university, you know, I couldn't use a credit card. I didn't know how to order food in a restaurant. There were just so many things I wasn't informed about. And in 2011, when we went to the university, I applied for the medical entrance exam, the entrance exams into medical schools, and I failed woefully. Decided to do biochemistry, ended up failing at that, hopefully, with a GPA of less than 2.0. I'm sharing this with you because you shouldn't compare yourself to others. You should compare yourself to who you were yesterday. So I finally wrote the concours again, and in 2013, this time around, made it in. But I'll tell you, I entered feeling completely unprepared. I left feeling completely unprepared, as you can see from my face right here. So it's true at one point in time, I was a class delegate. It's true I finished top of my promotion, but I'll tell you when I left, I was feeling completely unprepared. And this might be the reason why when I left, the, 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 someone offered a job offer, someone offered a job to me, and I was being paid 50,000 francs a month after 7 years of training as a doctor. I mean, it was just so minimal, but I had no choice. I didn't really have a direction in which I was going, and so I took it. So thanks to Dr. Ngek, after this, I applied to the Baptist, and on one weekend, they just called that the next Tuesday I needed to report for duty. And you know, you couldn't travel on Mondays in the Northwest. So when they called on Saturday, I had to travel on Sunday. Why I'm sharing this with you is you should always prepare to be unprepared. At this stage that most of you are in, you should not settle. You should live like a fugitive. At any point in time, you should be ready to move. You should be dynamic. And so I packed my things, you know, took the bus, went to Bansal Hospital in the Northwest, and it was a good job. They were paying me 5 times more than my previous job. There was even an opportunity to work for Sims and Parks. This is their internal medicine and their surgery program. So Doctors Without Borders launched their recruitment, and I wasn't qualified, I would say, but I went on to apply. And yes, I didn't get the position, but I was backup. So when one of their doctors finally resigned, I was called, and then I filled in the position at Doctors Without Borders. I didn't qualify at all. Why I'm sharing this also with you is that you shouldn't wait till it feels good to do something. You should just do it anyways. So to save time, I worked with Doctors Without Borders. The project ended. I applied to lots of schools for scholarships, so many schools, and this was what I get. The Chevening sent a report. We regret to inform you. University of Antwerp, we regret to inform you. Mandela, Washington, we regret to inform you. About close to 20 schools, we regret to inform you. So it was really, really an uncomfortable time for me. But thank God, after a while, some more favorable emails started trickling in. And then the McDonnell and then the William H. Ford scholarships, which I shared with you about. So I would say it's good to feel uncomfortable. When you feel comfortable, you stop growing. So currently, I would round up by just saying that I took the offer for Washington University in St. Louis, and there are a wealth of opportunities out there for you guys. There is a fully funded scholarships. There are postdoctoral research assistantships. There is specialization at home and abroad. There are NGOs, and then there are others. You should apply broadly. You should be smart. You should get a mentor. You should keep working at it. You should be prayerful, and you should trust in God. So your possibilities are endless, guys. Thank you so much. And please feel free to reach out at any time.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Isaac, for that inspiring note. Yeah, so Please keep your questions coming. We're going to take the questions during the Q&A session in the end. This is a very brilliant presentation, and let me not talk much. So we have our next speaker coming in. Our next speaker is Josephine Nabayinda. She is a first-year PhD student in the social work program at the University of Washington for St. Louis. She holds a BA from the University of Makerere and an MSc in Development Management Sciences with Agder University, Norway. Masters has been focused around working with single mothers in rural areas in Uganda, and she's been supervising and monitoring a lot of women to ensure that they actually have optimal funds. Currently, she is a research associate at the International Center for Child and Development program in the US, and she's also supports the NIH fund and studies in her role in research, in particular as she's doing her MSc. There's a long list, but I won't go further, but it's a pleasure to have Dr. Nabayinda on the call. Please, Dr. Nabayinda, you have the floor. You can share your slides if you have one. And thanks for coming and thanks for joining us on very short notice and deciding to share your wealth of experience. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Konje. Is it the way how I pronounce your name, right?
It's okay. You pronounce it the way it comes.
Konje, yeah. I just can't really spell it right because it's really long, but it's really a pleasure to have me here. My name is Josephine Nabayinda, and I'm born of Uganda, born and raised in Uganda. I'm married with 2 kids, and my son is 7 years, and my daughter is 4. And it's a pleasure for me to be here. I'm not a doctor, actually. I'm in my 2nd year of my PhD program in the social work at Washington University in St. Louis under the Brown School. I have some slides. If it's okay, I'll go ahead and share them. Just a minute. Okay. So I hope you now see my slides, right? Cool. And I'm sorry when I'm sharing slides, I don't see people because I just have one screen. But it's a pleasure to meet you all Cameroonians, and the fact that we share the same continent, I feel more comfortable. Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about WASHU specifically, and I thank so much Isaac for the great work he has done in actually like giving us a good picture of all universities around the US, but I'll be specific for my end at WASHU, because fortunately, I didn't really apply in so many universities like Isaac. I just applied in one university, and I was fortunate that I was admitted, and I got actually an early admission. So I didn't go through so much toil like Isaac, but I'm glad that he was able to make it because we have different journeys in life. So for WASHU specifically, it was established in 1853 by William Greenleaf Eliot. And apparently it's one of the world's leading research institutions, especially with social work. And we're so proud to be part of that institution, and it's ranked number 15 worldwide. So still it is really a pleasure that we're part of that university. Just to narrow it down to us as international students, because this is a home where you actually have to feel so comfortable, because WASHU houses over 43% of its students as international. So you won't feel alone. You won't feel like you come in a place where you're just so foreign. You will meet international students. You'll meet me, you'll meet Isaac, and you'll meet so many other international students. So, and to be specific, by the fall of 2021, the university admitted 4,451 international students. So you just see that the university is really upholding the diversity in its recruitment. So if you really give it a shot, you could be recruited there. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the opportunities at WashU. The university has over 100 different academic programs. I know Isaac has talked about the MPH, also talked about the social work, but we still have, my next slide actually has the different programs. So I may not really be able to kind of like name every program, but given that this is kind of like a platform for medics, but I believe that the other people that do not fall in the medic boundaries, so you can as well look into other opportunities other than the medic network. So to actually emphasize us as international students, 1 in 3 faculty have international roots. So in case you have an opportunity to be admitted at WashU, you're just pretty sure that you will have a faculty from the international roots work with, who will support your dreams, who will support your research interests. But also admissions are department-based. So if you apply, you kind of really apply to a specific department. And I bet you will be considered and your application will be assessed as for that particular department, not assessed in comparison to other departments, because different departments have different application requirements and have different ways of how they treat their applicants. But I must say that also the inquiries are done at the school level. So if you apply, for example, the Department of maybe Social Work, so you will have all the inquiries handled by the Brown School. So you won't be actually maybe taken or assessed with other students, maybe at the School of Medicine, or yeah. So you will have that opportunity for your application to be considered uniquely, depending on your program that you're applying to. Isaac has really done a great job in expounding all these fellowships and scholarships that are available, not only at WashU, but also by external supporting systems. So briefly, these are the departments at Washington University in St. Louis. For those colleagues that are doing social work, public health, and social policy, and this is the department where I am, Isaac and I really sitting. And then we have the School of Medicine, which is also another school far from the Brown School where we are. And then we have the School of Law, and then we have the School of Engineering. We have the School of Arts and Architecture for those guys that are really interested in design and visual arts. We have the School of Arts and Sciences. So there you find master's and PhD programs in social sciences. You find programs like PhD in English or master's in English, all those programs in there. But also we have, for those guys that are really interested in business, we have the All-in Business School for some of our colleagues with the McDonald's Scholars Academy are doing their MBAs at the All-in Business School. So I know Isaac has also done a great deal in explaining the application requirements. I know we hadn't kind of like exchanged our slides. So that is why maybe something that I'm repeating, and he has already mentioned that you will just forgive me because I couldn't just edit the slides in just that moment of time. But I'll talk briefly about your personal statement, and I believe that I'm talking with colleagues who have vast knowledge in this, but your personal statement will talk about you and your research interests and why you think maybe WashU or any other university is the best university that you've chosen, and why you think you actually fit candidate for that. You will have to include part of your working experience and perhaps your personal experience. Like Isaac has even a story of his growing up. That is really a touching story, and sometimes it wins people's hearts. So the more you kind of talk through about your life and how you lived and how this has impacted your journey, sometimes your story is really good before people's eyes, and it could win you as something additional on your application. Your resume, I know we all have different levels of experiences. We've worked in different organizations, and my resume may not be really comparable to other people's resume. I could have like less or minimum actually working experience, but it doesn't matter. Isaac has mentioned something that I really also uphold, is praying and trusting in God. So pray and trust in God. You may have your fellow applicants have worked for several years and they have this bulk of maybe publications, and you have really zero publication. But I mean, our opportunities are never the same. So your CV could actually be more considered than someone who has several publications. So take that step. And the standardized tests, I know Isaac has mentioned those that are considered for the MPH, but specifically for the PhD program, we do the graduate record examination. I know it's now like 2-3 years that it's been put on hold because of COVID, as these exams actually students have to go to a particular center that is designated for these examinations to be completed. So you may need to visit the WashU website and then maybe the application for PhD and see if it's really a requirement if you to apply this year, if it's really a requirement. And then your transcripts. I know the MPH or PhD in public health guys have to go through the WASE and then the SOFAS. Fortunately, with social work, we don't have to hustle so much, though it's actually the most expensive course if you're to be a private sponsoring student. We have to just upload our certified transcripts directly in the application process. And then after, when your application is actually given, no, actually even before, you'll be requested to go back to your university, and then the school requests the university to send your transcripts to it. So like that is one way of confirming that the transcripts that you're providing are actually from that particular university where you attended. Unlike my colleagues from the MPH and PhD in public health, the SOFAS does it for them. So for us, we have to hustle the other side. Application fees, I think it's $50 or $40, depending for specifically for WashU, but also different schools have different application fees. And I saw a question, like maybe I'll just handle this here, that whether you pay the application fees before maybe being even admitted. Yes, because it is due the process, your application form will not be submitted until when you pay these fees. So it's part of the application requirements. So you just have to keep that money aside and make sure you have it, you have your card ready. And it doesn't matter which currency, because it always converts the currency to the US dollars. Then my colleague also talked about the references, which are the recommenders, and these should be people that have really fast professional worked with you. You may get someone who has worked with you for quite some time, because these people will be in a good position to actually talk good or talk something really vivid about you. But also someone who has taught you, they know your academic ability, because here you're going to compete with students from all over the world. So they have to make sure that they are giving a chance to a person who is actually worth it, but also who is ready to take on a challenge, because you're going to be challenged from different acquaintances. So you have really to be ready to take on the challenge. I know that if you, for my scenario, and I was submitting my application, after I had my application submitted, I had a separate application for the scholarship. So as you're working on your academic applications, kindly also put aside your scholarship application ready. They also sometimes ask for a personal statement. So it's a matter of like kind of make edits here and there within your personal statement to suit the requirements of the scholarship. For example, like for the McDonnell Academy, they are so much interested in your leadership skills and how you're going to actually exhibit them during your stay at the school. So you need to kind of tailor your application for the scholarship for the McDonnell Academy towards how you exhibit these leadership skills and how they really help you, or they will help you to fit in this wide, diverse group of scholars that you're going to be working with. And I must say thanks to Isaac for the great work that he has done in showing you all the scholarships available. So the funding opportunities. So he has mentioned lots of scholarships, both internal and external. And he has mentioned about the fellowship opportunities. For WashU, we have the Dean's list. So if you're given a Dean's scholarship, that's pretty good. And it's actually better than the McDonnell one. And also the Chancellor's scholarship, it's also, it's really good. And I know, like, if you apply for this year and you compete and you won it, then you'll be getting about 40,000 or 45,000 US dollars a year. So that's pretty good money for you to help feed you and to help manage your life here. And this is actually a scholarship that, this is the 45,000, like it's just for your living allowances. So you have a scholarship for fees, but also you have a scholarship, I mean, you have a stipend to take care of you or even your family. And also you actually accepted to work here, as most of the students that come to the US on maybe F1 or J1 visas. So you allowed to work some minimum amount of time. And if you have a lab or like a research program or project that you are assigned to work with, you will have to earn some money, and you can use that money definitely to pay for your tuition, especially if you're private. There are also student loans that you can use and you can take advantage of. Of course, these are really not healthy for us, but if we don't have any chance, or if we don't have any other way to go, then we can really take advantage of the loans. But also for those students that are from the well-to-do families, you can use the out-of-pocket expenses. So I think that is about the school itself. In my last presentation slide, I'll have to give you the WashU website, so you can visit and read more about it and about the different programs and the different opportunities and everything that you really want to know about WashU. So I was requested by Che to actually give a presentation on the McDonnell Fellowship. I'm so grateful that I got this fellowship in 2021 when I joined for my PhD. And like my PhD application, I was also given an early admission for the scholars, for the scholarship. So I didn't go through this other, like hell, like other scholars had to go through interviews and everything, but I was fortunate that I got an early admission and I didn't have to bother so much or to toil so much like my other colleagues. But of course, our journeys are different. Maybe God just blessed me, so I cannot really say that I was the best candidate, but maybe it was luck. So McDonnell Academy Fellowship was founded in 2005 by John McDonnell. You can read more about John McDonnell. And then the Academy is a global partnership that provides graduate and professional education. Graduate, definitely they pay your school fees, and then they pay for your living allowances here. But also for the professional education, we have sessions when you join the program that they make you interact with different people across the globe. So you meet different people, and they also give us trips to different cities in the US so that we meet different dignitaries to interact with them, to learn more from them. So that's the professional part of it. But also it prepares global leaders to incubate new ideas and foster collaborative research across countries. So McDonnell has a funding grant. So this is specifically for the faculty, but it's also, if you become a faculty or postdoc, you can take advantage of it. and you can apply for it so that you can incubate new ideas like medics. We have so many epidemics that are really happening. So if you can take advantage of that and then maybe invent new ways of how we can solve, of how we can treat these epidemics. So in Uganda, apparently we're suffering from Ebola. So if such you win such a grant from the McDonald's, you can use it to actually make maybe new medicines, I don't know. But also you are given an opportunity to meet with different leaders here in the US. We meet with Senate dignitaries, we meet with professors or vice presidents from different universities. They talk to us and then they give us their experience or their load work to life and how they've managed to really get where they are. So it's not just a scholarship per se, but it's really a great opportunity for you to interact and get integrated with different people that you would really admire to meet in life. So it's a cool opportunity for you. What are benefits with the McDonald's scholarship? You have full tuition scholarship, so you will not be really thinking through about where am I going to get money, and then sleeping when your registration is due, and then think about where am I going to get my next tuition. We have a monthly living stipend. Apparently, we have 30,000 annually. So you just divide that into 12 months. But also it's taxable. We pay 14% of the tax for the international students, especially for those that are from countries that do not have treaty with the US. So that living allowance helps you to pay for your rent. Rent is really expensive here in the US, but you can always find the best maybe house or accommodation stay. You also have an annual travel allowance. So they give you a ticket and some good money for you if you really want to go back home every after 1 year. This has an implication. When you get back home, you have to go back to the partner university. I know Cameroon is not yet a partner university. But you can, I mean, Cameroon has no partner university apparently. So Cameroon is a global, it's counted as a global partner or global for the students that are coming from Cameroon are global scholars. But if you're given that travel allowance, you can go ahead and maybe tell people about McDonald's. It's just about you going back home and then preaching the gospel about McDonald's. And also you have culture and leadership training. The fact that we have students from all over the world, so you're best assured of having these interactions with people from different cultures, and you learn how to avoid culture shocks just in case it happens to you. So McDonald's Academy is one house, it's one actually way of how you can integrate and learn and get to learn from other people. Also, it is a global network of students. Apparently, actually, the academy has students from over 40 countries. So you just imagine how many students you're going to interact with, people from different or diverse backgrounds. You have a lot to learn, you have a lot to share, and you will leave the academy never the same. And also we actually have awards for those that have been or have lived a great example during their time at the McDonald's Academy. So if you're really that strong and vibrant person, I know Cameroonians maybe could be this great, I mean, like the young generation, you could be so brave, and so you could actually win some of these awards. The awards, I think, are about $10,000 US, and that is a one-time check. So just imagine you win that award and then you become the best ever. So what the academy looks for in a scholar: academic distinction, definitely. You have to prove out being outstanding. And I may not say that they do not really take maybe low performing students, because I'm not pretty sure, but also the fact that I'm sure of is you need to prove academic excellency for you to be considered. You should be having a global mindset because you're going to deal with people from different cultures. You're going to deal with people from with different values. One of my latest presentation was culture as actually complex system that I presented like a month ago. So you really have to be ready to fit in this community where people are from different countries, speak different languages, and people have different expectations of you, but also you have different expectations from them. But also you have to have the ability to exhibit leadership skills, because McDonald's is preparing you to become a leader outside there. And only to do this, you will have to take on leadership responsibilities. And that is why in your personal essay to the McDonald's, you have to talk much about how you've exhibited these leadership skills in different contexts and where actually you have. But also you will have to be willing to have the ability to develop a network of relationships, because the McDonald's itself is a community where you will find and meet people from different backgrounds, like I've already mentioned. So you will have to have a sense of, I know some people are really hesitant to reach out to people, some people are really hesitant to make friends, but with a McDonald's, it's actually like a first thing for you to do or to learn, because you will have no way out how you're going to live in a community without actually making friends or widening your network. And this is actually the network that we need in life, because after school, what else? It is those scholars that maybe will connect you, these scholars that maybe, and actually not only scholars, you will meet ambassadors, and these are people that represent partner universities in the different countries where McDonald's Scholarship Academy is. But you will meet with these ambassadors, you will interact with them. Imagine meeting someone from Hong Kong, meeting someone from China, meeting someone from Uganda like me. We have our ambassador by the names of Professor Fred Sawamala. He has done incredibly good work. Please read about him. He's done good work in Sub-Saharan Africa. And meeting him and maybe like having initiated chat with him, he may not be one of your ambassadors in your country, but these people can connect you because they have connections. So after school, these are the networks that you're going to use to dive in the world. So that is an opportunity that we have in the Scholarship Academy. And briefly, I will talk about the types of scholars. We have the partner scholar, and these are candidates or graduates from one of the Academy's partner university. I know apparently Cameroon has no partner university, but I think it's underway. The fact that Isaac is the first scholar, I think, from Cameroon. So he has really achieved a lot. And I think I was the second scholar too from my country, Uganda. So these partner universities are kind of like, it's a process for them to be integrated to be part of the partner universities. But also they have the United States scholar, and these are candidates from the US who are the US citizens with a strong record of international activities. They've worked with international projects, but they've lived maybe here for the rest of their lives. They could be white, but most of them actually that have met us US scholars are students from actually African Black Americans. So yeah. And then the global scholar, like the likes of Isaac, and these are international students from international institutions outside the partnership. So if McDonald's has no partner university in your country, so you apply as a global scholar, and then you're considered as a global scholar. This is really competitive. So because you actually weight assessed with other scholars all over the world, while for the partner university, you actually given priority for the partner scholars, because it is the ambassador to sign off for you, and he has to give a strong recommendation for you to be considered. So those are actually, it's a go-through process. You will not suffer a lot when you go through the partner university than someone who is actually competing globally, because you're competing with students from all over the world. So I congratulate Shay. I mean, this was really an incredible opportunity for him to have competed with several scholars from all over the world, and he actually had to come out as a global scholar. So thank you so much for listening. Please visit the website for WashU, the Washington University in St. Louis, for more information. That's the website. And I just want again to say thank you so much for the opportunity that you've given me to present to you. Yeah, I haven't given a story about me because it's a long story. So I may not be able to give it here, but just like if you see my bio, you may think like I've accomplished a lot, but no, not really. I'm also a first generation scholar, and I'm the first in my family to have reached the level of a PhD. So I want to encourage my female colleagues because my area of research is more of female economic empowerment. I've worked with women back in my country in Uganda, and I would like to emphasize that I come from a district where the first case of HIV was first registered in Uganda. So I have a lived experience of how I've seen women suffer and young girls because in most cases, we are the victims of all things that happen all over the world. So I encourage my female colleagues to really take advantage of academics because you never know where you end. And I also pledge my support to you, Cameroonians, in case you have any assistance or help you need from me. Please reach out to me. I will actually drop my email in the chat room, both my personal and my school email. In case you need anything, please reach out. I'm ready to help. I'm an easy person, so feel free. Once again, thank you so much for giving me the invitation, and I hope I've made sense to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Josephine Awenda. Thank you for that presentation. And it's just quite amazing that there are some opportunities out here where you go to school and then you get work and they pay you. You end up working, saving money, and then you earn a degree at the end. So I think for us, most of us didn't even know about such opportunities. We didn't know that you can go to school automatically and get paid. So that means you are in the US as a foreigner, you're not doing odd jobs. You don't need to do that because of your academia. But as well, you are being paid because you are learning and you're going to add value when you get back home. So thank you very much for sharing the details of the academy. And I hope that those of us listening, we are going to visit the site and we're going to set our timeline and start working on the progress. So we've learned a lot about school. So our next speaker is Dr. Brunhilde Take. She's in Canada. She's also a medical graduate, 1% of her batch. And she is a medical doctor in Canada. She has a master's degree in public health. She's an epidemiologist at the Center of Excellence at the British Columbia Center of Excellence on HIV. So she's going to, we'll be learning about school a lot. So she's going to be telling us more about job opportunities. So tying down to where Josephine ended with the opportunities are associated with the McDonald's scholar, being a McDonald's scholar, but now she's coming more, still in that part of the globe, but telling us more about work opportunities. Dr. Tifu happens to be my senior in school, with high school and now. So it's a pleasure to have you. Over to you, Doc.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all for taking the time to attend this. I don't remember ever attending such webinars before. So I'm glad that I can share what I know now to those who are interested in learning. And I'm happy that, thank you, Cynthia, for this initiative, because I didn't attend such because maybe I was not exposed enough. I did not get to know about such webinars. And so today we are going to be talking about Canada. I don't have slides, so we're just going with the flow. So I'm a medical doctor from Cameroon. I currently work at the British Columbia Center for Excellence in HIV as an epidemiologist. And so HIV, I work with secondary data from HIV patients. That's stigmatizing, from people living with HIV. And most of my work is on aging, non-communicable diseases, and in people living with HIV. So COPD, cardiovascular disease, and all the non-AIDS comorbidities you can think of. So today, the previous speakers have done a very great job in telling us about all the opportunities that exist in the US. The US and Canada are all North American countries, and there are a lot of similarities in the application process. However, I'm just going to highlight where the differences are. So unlike for the master's program, so I have a master's degree in public health, and I came to Canada as a student and then switched to a permanent resident. We're going to talk about that in the later part of the presentation. So first of all, Canada, there is no SOFAS application when it comes to applying for a master's program. So most times you would have to go to the schools that you are interested in, like their website, to know what they offer in terms, depending on your interest. So in terms of choosing your program, you have to consider the location. Canada can be so cold. And when considering the location, you have to, depending on how you can tolerate, you have to find a place that has is weather friendly, I would say. And also people who are paying out of pocket, you have to consider the tuition. There are scholarship opportunities, and most of those opportunities, you can find them on the school's website. Or back home, I know that it's usually very hard to get information from our universities, but here it's easy. You go to the website, there is a financial aid office. You can call them, you can schedule an appointment with them, you can call them, you schedule a Zoom call with them and ask all your questions that you have, concerning their program, and they'll be happy to help you with that. So yeah, there are scholarships, as well as the university also, like external scholarships, and the university also offers scholarships, right? I studied at the University of British Columbia, and partly funded. I got a scholarship from the school. So that's why I said that there are opportunities for funding from the school and also external organizations. So because most of the things that Isaac and Josephine have talked about are pretty much similar in Canada, I'm not going to go back and repeat the same things that they have said. So aside studies in Canada, there is also the opportunity to come to Canada as a permanent resident. And maybe that's why I'm going to talk more. But first off, as a student in Canada, or coming to Canada as a student, you have the opportunity to have your permanent residence. For example, if you come to Canada as a master's student and your program is 2 years. So after your 2 years program, you would have 3 years of postgraduate work permit. And with your 3 years of postgraduate work permit, once you've completed 1 year, you are eligible to apply for your permanent residence. And in some cases, for people who study mathematics, statistics, immediately after graduating, you can already apply for your permanent residence, depending on the province where you find yourself. Canada is so vast, and each province has its own rules and regulations when it comes to immigrating or when it comes to permanent residents. And there are a lot of pathways. I cannot tell you that there are 50 because that will not be true. And I cannot tell you that there are 10 because there are probably more than that. And every year, I would say, there are several other opportunities for people to immigrate to Canada as permanent residents or as workers coming with a work permit and all. So as a student, that's the surest, or I would say the quickest way to come to Canada. If you have everything, your maybe you have funding, even when you come as a scholar, after your program, you can still stay, depending on your scholarships, because some scholarships require that you go back to your home country, right? But in Canada, you can apply for your postgraduate work permit. And with your postgraduate work permit, you can, after a year, apply for permanent residence and later citizenship. Yeah, so what I'm going to be talking about is how to apply for the permanent residence. So for people who have the funds, I understand that most of us here are interested in like the study opportunities, but there are people who also have the funds to go ahead with the permanent resident. It takes a while, I would say. It takes a while and it requires a lot of patience. I saw Dr. Isaac's presentation and he did mention money, patience, and God. Canada requires patience. Unfortunately, Canada has 6 letters, but patience is 8. I just wish that Canada could be spelled with 8 letters that is equivalent to patience, because you require a lot of patience in Canada. So for the express entry, express entry is just one of those pathways. It's like a broad umbrella, I would say, because under the express entry, you have different tentacles, right? And that's where even for people who come in as students, you can also apply via the express entry route as Canadian experience class. Canadian experience class means that you've either worked in Canada. For people who came as workers, you come with the work permit and then you now apply for your permanent residence, or you've schooled in Canada, you have study experience in Canada, right? And the other pathway is the federal skilled trade workers, for people who are business inclined and business. And then the federal skilled workers, which is like the general pathway for all from all occupations, I would say. So they have a website. Unfortunately, I don't have slides to share, but you can just Google Express Entry Canada, and the website is pretty much very detailed to like give you every information that you need. It requires, if you need guidance, I'm happy to help. For those who want to use the pathway, I'm happy to help. I'll share my email in the chat if you need guidance, because you will surely need guidance, especially for medics, because for people with medical background, you have to go to, unfortunately, they don't use World Education Services, WES, to evaluate your degree. Oh, thank you, Cynthia. Cynthia shared the link. Thank you so much. So for people who with medical degree, you don't need to go through WES. You would have to verify your credential with their medical council, so Medical Council of Canada, after which you would have to take the IELTS. It's the IELTS general, not IELTS academic. IELTS academic is for studies. IELTS general is for the express entry pathway. And then more than ever, many people are applying via the express entry pathway. So the cutoff points is getting higher and it's getting tougher. So for you to stand the chance, you need to take like more than one language test. So to prove that you're bilingual, for people who can do the French test, it's a plus. It gives you more points. You stand more chances, like in terms of points, than somebody who only has English language as their language, right? Then working experience. If you have more than 3 years of working experience, it's a good number. That's the cutoff number. It gives you more points. The younger you are, the better for you. Once you're above 30, 32, I think, your points starts reducing. So or if you're less than that, good for you. And then if you have family over here, by family, I mean immediate relative, your sister, your brother, your parents here in Canada, you also have points for that. And lastly, you have your proof of funds. You need a lot of money in, it changes every year. So now it's like 13,000 Canadian dollars. That's approximately, I would say approximately 7 million or 7.5 million stuck in your account somewhere. You're not going to be using that money. They just need to know that if you come to Canada today, you can take care of yourself even for the next 6 months if you don't have a job. So that's the point of that money in your account, just to prove to them that you're not going to come here and die or not be able to sustain yourself if the worst comes to the worst. But that does not happen anyway, because the most times when you come here, there are opportunities. It just depends on what you want. So yeah, once you have all those things ready, it takes, give or take, 6 months to get all these things ready, because for example, for your verification, you have to go through like sending your documents to them, and they send back to your school for verification. And we all know that back home, once your documents have to go through your school, it takes forever. And yeah, those are the kind of things that would take time. And then taking the exam and putting everything together, your funds, before applying. So once you create the express entry, is a pool. You create an account, you put in your information. It's simple. You don't need an agent to do it. You don't. Maybe you need somebody to just tell you, oh, if you get stuck somewhere and you ask, what do I do for this and this and this? You don't need to go and pay an agent to do your application for you or to create an account for you. You can't do it. I mean, if you're here, it means that you're intelligent enough to do those things by yourself, right? So yeah, once you create the account and you put in all your information, it's like a draw. So every 2 weeks, they do like the draw, and they have a cutoff point. So the latest cutoff point was 491, I think. So imagine you need 499 points for you to be invited, because the first step is just creating an account in the express entry pool and keying in your information. And then once you're invited to apply for permanent residence, you now, all those documents that you've been putting together, you have to submit all of them. Because it's one thing to say that, oh, I did the English test and it was 6, or the written was 6, the reading was this. They want to see all those documents as proof. And once you get your invitation to apply, they give you, I think 30 to 60 days to 30 to 60 days to submit all those documents that are required. And once you do that, the processing time on the website says 6 months, but because of COVID, it takes longer. And that's why I say you need a lot of patience. It could go 1 year, it could go 2 years. And it also depends on where you are. For people in Cameroon, your application goes to Senegal, to the IRCC in Immigration and Refugees Canada in Senegal, because we don't have an embassy in Cameroon. So, and Senegal office is slow. So it takes a lot of time. People in Nigeria, they have their embassy in Nigeria. Things can go a bit faster. But for those of us who are in Cameroon and you have to send to Senegal, Senegal also has other countries sending to their embassies. So the workload for them is much. So it takes a while. So 6 months, maybe longer than 6 months. It may take a year. It may take just about 6 months. Things change. And after which, once you get, like after the 6 months, they'll get back to you and tell you, oh, we've reviewed your application and we need your passport. We need you to confirm your address first, and then we need your passport. So they'll send your confirmation of permanent residence. It's like a paper. and your passport, it puts your visa so that you're able to travel to Canada. And once you get to Canada, at the border, that's what you show, the COPR, the confirmation of permanent residence. And with that, you can get your SIN, social security number, you can create your account, you can do everything with that confirmation of permanent residence while waiting for them to mail your permanent resident card. So that's for people who leave Cameroon wanting to come here as a permanent resident, right? For students, if you come here as a student, you would have to, after 1 year of working with your postgraduate work permit, you apply for the Canadian Experience class. Since you're here, it usually takes shorter. It's a shorter time to be able to get your confirmation of permanent residence, and they mail you confirm your address as well, and they'll mail your permanent resident card to you. So somebody's going to ask, what's the difference between somebody who, like, one who has a postgraduate work permit and another person who has a permanent residence? With your permanent residence card, you are able to travel. For people who like adventure, you're able to travel to some countries, especially in South America, Mexico, like you have 30 days time to travel there, travel to those countries, and without going through like visa processing. And then healthcare is free. It's free for people who are permanent residents and people who are permanent residents and citizens. But for people who come as workers or students who are not under scholarships, and students who are not on, because scholarship will cover for your medical insurance, right? You'd have to pay, and it depends on the province. For example, I am in BC. People with work permits or students pay 75 Canadian dollars a month for like health insurance. And with that, it covers, if you have any problem, you go to the emergency. Anything that has to do with hospitalization is free. But if it has to do with outpatient, like prescriptions, if you have prescriptions out of the hospital, you pay out of pocket. Dental, there's no dental coverage in that. And also there's no, for the eyes, no ophthalmology coverage. So, and those are very, 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 very costly as well. Especially dental coverage is very costly. So yeah, what have I missed? As a permanent resident as well, you can go to anywhere. Unfortunately, you cannot go to the US as a permanent resident freely. You would have to get a visa to the US regardless. But when you get a visa, you get like a 10-year visa to the US, so multiple entry as long as you want. So yeah, that's about it for the express entry. And then moving on to residency, there's also opportunities for medical graduates to integrate themselves like into the system. However, to be honest, that's a very, very, very long discussion to even begin with. And I think that for people who are interested in that, maybe when next we'll have another webinar, we can talk about that. So, and a quick advice I would want to give for people who are looking into applying for their master's program: consider programs because you can either do a master's in public health, that's a course-based program, or an MSc, which is research-based. Consider programs that are that have like opportunities for an internship. I'll take, for example, my program. It was a course-based program. So we were required to do a practicum, a co-op for 3 months. So with a co-op, you get experience. And if you're lucky, where you work for your co-op, you may be integrated. I was lucky. I did my co-op at the BC Center for Excellence. And after my co-op, I had the opportunity to be employed. So that's something you should consider. Consider programs that have opportunities to do like an internship somewhere. Research, I don't know about research opportunities, but for sure, it depends on the school though. You have to check the school website to get most of this information. And if there's anything you're not clear, like I mentioned, you can always contact the school. They are there to help. They would always answer your questions. And one thing I wanted to mention was about like, I don't think the other people mentioned, for people who are doing MSc programs, you may need a supervisor. Whether you may have a scholarship, good and fine, but you need a supervisor for your program. And how do you go about getting a supervisor is $1 million question. So my advice will be, first off, go to your program website and check under the faculty. There are tons of professors in that school, right? In the school that you're looking into, and read their bios, read their interests, and reach out to the people whose interests align with yours. For example, in my own case, I had to do like my co-op, and my program actually, like, they advertise opportunities for students, but because we are like 35 of us and they have maybe 1 or 2 opportunities every week or 1 or 2 opportunities every month, if you have to depend on those opportunities, there's no guarantee, because you have like 15 of you applying for that internship, and you have to go through an interview, and you're not guaranteed to have that placement, right? So reach out to whoever is, whichever professor is in that faculty whose interests align with yours. Send them a cold email. I'm sure that we all know how to send an email to people. Just nicely show your interest in the work that they do. If you have publications, good for you, with your resume, and tell them why you want to work with them and all those things. I know that we all know those things, and sometimes you may have to send so many emails to so many people, but it doesn't matter. I know that at least one person is going to reply, right? And once you get that opportunity, some of these professors have like funding, they pay. My internship was paid. Other people were not lucky enough. You're working with someone, but I mean, it's internship, we don't get paid. So it just depends, and it depends on who you want to work with or where you want to work with, the organization you want to work with. And that's it. So if you're lucky, after your internship, you can be offered a place in the organization. So I think that's it. I don't know if I have said anything sensible. I hope I did. If you have any questions, I'm going to drop my email in the chat box, and I'm happy to help. Let me know anytime. Yep, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bonhilda. Thank you for sharing. Initially, you always say, I don't have much, but yeah, you did share a lot. One thing that's important about the express entry, if I have to add, is that it's an opportunity for you to pilot, to move to a different country and don't need to hide from security or be somewhere that you're scared if you have your documents once moving in. So that's one good thing. And to demystify it, it's not difficult, especially if you're already working here in the country. You just have to follow the steps, submit your documents. The advantage Cameroonians have is that by virtue of being a Cameroonian, you are exposed to 2 languages, English and French. You can take it and write the French, write the English, it gives you more points, and that is going to make your journey smooth. You can as well, while doing your applications for your MSc, start the express entry. And if you're going to Canada, is going to help you as well. So Dr. Brunhilde, thank you for sharing your email, and those who are interested can always share.
I'm sorry, let me just mention that. I'm sorry, let me just mention that with Canada, you can do like dual pathways. So you can be following your program for the school whilst working on your express entry. That's my story. Unfortunately, I didn't have to share that. I couldn't share that, but yeah, you can come as a student and in a couple of months, you switch your status. So that's possible in
Yeah. All right. So basically that's it. Our next speaker is Dr. Tim Divine. So Dr. Tim Divine is also a medical doctor, and he completed among the top 5% in his class. Most importantly, Dr. Tim Divine is a Commonwealth Scholar 2020-2021. And also he is a registered physician with the NHS in the UK. The NHS is like the Ministry of Public Health Cameroon. Yeah, so one thing that's interesting with Dr. Tim Divine is that within 1 year, he could complete his master's, get certified as a public health physician, and get registered as a physician with the NHS. So I don't know how he did it. Some people take 2 years to do that. Some people finish the course and then start trying to register into NHS. But well, one thing that I learned from him is how he's brilliant and how you can be able to do both at once and save time. And in the end of a year, you are able to have a degree on one hand and have a job as a medical doctor in the UK. I will stop there. If I have to talk about Dr. Tim Divine, we'll have another session for that. But Dr. Tim, thanks for deciding to share your story with us. The floor is all yours, Senior.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much, Cynthia. I hope you can hear me. Oh, perfect. All right. Now I'm in a very tight spot, having some people talk before you and then they're all brilliant. Now you find yourself in a tight spot. You don't want to say something that does not make sense in quotes, and look foolish. Anyways, we've heard a lot of things about opportunities in the US, Canada, the American side of it. I think the second part is going to be on the other side, which is the UK. And I was asked to talk about the Commonwealth opportunities, and then share my experience as well. Just like Cynthia rightly put, I had the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship 2020-2021 at the Liverpool John Morris University here in the UK. And during the same time, I had to use a stone to shoot two birds, I had to, find the motivation to actually do the two at the same time to get my license to practice here, while at the same time doing my public health. I did a master's in international public health. And talking about Commonwealth, I'm so sorry I don't have a slide, just like the previous speaker, Dr. Tifu, I don't have a slide, but it's just going to be straightforward. And if you need any information and you want more about anything that I'm going to say, you can find every single information on the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission website. There's a website for that has every single information about the different scholarships and fellowships that you might have under the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission or the Commonwealth Commission as a whole. So Commonwealth Scholarship is to study either in the UK or in some selected universities out of the UK, depending on which program you're applying for. It was started in 1960, like till date, they've got like close to 30,000 scholars since 1960. And every year, Commonwealth awards about 380 plus scholarships to people from low and middle income countries. And it's for a fully funded master's or PhD program, depending on what you're applying for. A few days ago, the applications for the Commonwealth Master Scholarship ended. I don't know how many of you had the opportunity to apply, But at the moment, applications for the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship are open. And I think a few people got to me a couple of days ago to ask about the difference and what they need to do to apply for this particular scholarship. A similarity between what I'm going to say and what the other people said from the start is about leadership. Most often, scholarships, whichever scholarship you're applying for, Cynthia is going to talk about what he had at Oxford, and it's going to be centered about your ability to demonstrate that you can be a good leader. And why is that? It's because most of the scholarships and the donors, the people who are donating money for these particular scholarships, the truth is they want to look good. And for somebody to look good, they want to give money to somebody that can make them look good. How can you make them look good? You get the master's or whatever program you're applying for. You use the knowledge and do something, and then that thing is recognized, and then their name comes under, this is a Commonwealth scholar, and you're like, oh, wow, what's that Commonwealth? And then you start doing more research and you start finding out about the people. And then you're like, okay, this is something nice. So in a way, it's a win-win for them and for you. So Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, it's for a fully funded master's program here in the UK. And unlike the Commonwealth Master Scholarship that ended just a few days ago, you don't have to go through a national nominating body or some NGO that works in collaboration with the Commonwealth to nominate you for the scholarship. Because for the Master Scholarship, you do not apply for the scholarship directly to the university. I mean, for the Masters here, but for the shared, you apply directly to the university, and the university is the one that goes through all the applications, and then they contact Commonwealth and say, all right, this is who we've selected. We've got 3 candidates. This one is our preferred. These 2 are our reserve candidates. So if the first person declines, then the next person in line gets it. That's what they do. And how do you even approach a Commonwealth Shared Scholarship in the first place? First things first, you have to go to the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission website. You're going to see a list of different programs that are funded under the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission. You're going to see the Master Scholarship, the one I mentioned earlier, that just expired a few days ago. You're going to see the Shared Scholarship, which is what's currently running. And the good thing about this one is, I think we should be, today's the 12th or 13th or so, it's open till the 3rd of December, if I'm not wrong. It's on the website. So if you're interested in this particular scholarship, it is not late to start preparing for it and putting things together. There is a distance learning master scholarship. This one is online. It's for programs that are entirely online. That's why it's called distance learning. So this one is usually released sometime in January or so. And then you've got the split sites PhD scholarships, where you can do part of the program in one uni, maybe in your home country, and then part of the program here in the UK. And then you've got the Commonwealth PhD scholarship, which is usually open at the same time as the Commonwealth Master Scholarship. So this one expired a few days ago. And they've got other professional fellowships. But today we'll focus on the Shared Scholarship, because the Shared Scholarship is the one that is currently running. So what do you need to know, or what do you need if you want to apply for a Commonwealth Shared Scholarship? I'm going to summarize the information that is already available in lots of on the website. So the first thing, go to the website. You're going to see, when you open the Shared Scholarship, you're going to have a tab that tells you about how to apply, choosing a university or a course, candidate eligibility, eligible countries. Almost every country under the Commonwealth that is part of the Commonwealth is eligible for a Commonwealth scholarship. For the last 2 years during the COVID period, for some reason, some countries were taken off the list, but this year, including Nigeria, Ghana also, but this year, almost every country is now eligible. The number of courses are less than before, but it still does not reduce your chances or anything. If you've got if you give a very good application, then you're going to stand a very good chance to get any of these. Selection process, it's important for you to go through the selection process. You open the tab, you read what's needed, how the selection is done. There's usually a like a document about how the scoring is done. And then when you go there and you go to the application proper, compared to the master scholarship, I think this year the Ministry of Higher Education of Cameroon needed you to have had admission from 3 universities before applying for the Commonwealth Scholarship through the Ministry of Higher Education. But for the Commonwealth Master Scholarship, you do not need to have had admission in any UK university before you're applying for the scholarship. You can apply for admission for that university at the same time as you're applying for the scholarship itself, because the portals are different. When you start applications for a particular uni, they are going to give you an application number. You can use that for the scholarship. Even if you've not started and maybe you want to submit the scholarship today and you start applying with the university tomorrow, the section that needs an admission number or an applicant number, I don't know if it's changed this year, but that particular section is not the star ones that you need to fill it before you go on to the next. No, it's one of those optional sections. And how do you know which program is eligible for the university or for the program, the scholarship or not? There is a list of eligible programs for the scholarship. It's on the website. You're going to, if you go to the How to Apply tab on that website, you're going to see full list of approved courses. Commonwealth scholarships are usually offered under 6 different themes. There is access, inclusion, and opportunity. There's promoting global prosperity. You've got science and technology for development. You've got strengthening global peace, security and governance, strengthening health systems and capacity, strengthening resilience and response to crisis. So under these different themes, you've got the list of the university and the program that is covered by this scholarship. For example, if you go to access, inclusion, and opportunity, the first university on the list, it's given alphabetically. It's Brunel University, London, which is for LLM, International Human Rights Law. So if you're applying for maybe a different program under that Brunel University, London, it's not eligible for the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. The program that is eligible for Commonwealth Shared Scholarship for this year, it's going to be the LLM, International Human Rights Law. So every year the programs change, because every year universities actually, the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission usually sends out a bid for universities to apply to host Commonwealth scholars. So the universities apply to be the host for that particular scholarship, and then they are selected and the programs that they applied for. So this thing changes most of the time. This year, you might find a university, and next year the university is no longer on the list. For example, the university I applied for in 2020 is not part of the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship universities for this year. So it's good to first go to the list of eligible courses and programs and universities, go through them, look at the program you are interested in. Once you've had a list of programs that probably match your background, match your educational experience, or it's something that you feel like you're eligible to do, or you might want to change your career path and you think it's a program and you have one very good plan about what you want to do, go to the university website and apply for that program. That's the process. First things, go through the list of eligible programs, look at the universities, just write them down on some piece of paper, or if you like, do a spreadsheet, and then apply for that particular university. And once you submit an application for that university, or even start an application for that university, at the same time, you can start an application for the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. And once you do that, for the scholarship itself, you're going to see a list of supporting material that you have to submit thing. You've got your transcript, your university transcript, and maybe your degrees, the proof that you've completed your studies or you're going to complete your studies by the time that the program starts. So if you're still in school, I think you can apply, because there is a clause, I don't know if it's changed this year, that you must have finished the degree or your BSc, if you're doing a BSc program, before the start date of the scholarship. So if the scholarship is valid from 1st of August, you must have finished that before the 1st of August. You must have had admission in a university, the university that you're applying for, by July. It applies, the same rules applies for those who apply for the Commonwealth Master Scholarship. I think it applies for those who are thinking about chevening. We're not going to go into chevening. It's another scholarship that is probably, I don't know if it's still active or the deadline has passed, but it's one of those other scholarships. And then what do you have to do next? Another thing that I picked up in the previous applications, it's about your references. Before you start applying for these scholarships, it's important for you to start. It's important for you to start contacting your potential referees. Look at the referee requirements, look at the things that look at the type of referees that you will need, the people that you need to do a reference for you. Look at what is required, then you start contacting those people. Because although Commonwealth is now very flexible, you could always have an option to change your referee before a particular deadline. But it's important that you start talking to those people and preparing them that I'm applying for this particular scholarship. And if I get nominated, they are going to request for a reference, and I would like you to be my referee. And one mistake that we usually did, and one thing that, or it's not really a mistake, but one difficulty that we put ourselves in is that we thought it's only those people with very big names that you want to get the professor of XYZ to be your referee because he's got a professor tag on his name. Believe me, these people don't care. They just want somebody that has worked with you, somebody that can confirm that somebody that can confirm your experience and say something good about you. It must not be a professor or something. It can be anybody you've worked with, your supervisor at work, anybody that can do that qualifies under the different categories of referees that the Commonwealth is going to ask. So that's very important. And then another thing is the English language requirement. For the US schools, I think they mentioned about the GRE. For UK, the UK does not do GRE. GRE is mostly the some North American universities, not all, that do things like that, but UK does not require GRE. Some UK universities will require you to pay for an application fee. For example, Oxford, University of London, London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, they are going to have they might demand an application fee, but majority, more than 80% of universities here in the UK are not going to ask you for any application fee. So most of them, the application is free because you've got access to all of that information, and you can conveniently apply for these universities without going through an agent. If you're going through an agent to apply for universities in the UK, you probably have so much money that you just want to waste on. Well, that was a joke, but generally, you do not need an agent to apply for any university. Most universities in this country, just a few are going to demand an application fee. And then most Commonwealth Scholarship Commission is not going to ask you for the English language, does not require that you must have fulfilled the requirements for English language during the time of application, but it is going to be a condition for the university you're applying for, depending on the university you're applying for. Some universities accept alternative English language test. For example, I have a friend who is currently a Commonwealth scholar here. He did not have to go through the IELTS. The university gave him their own internal English language assessment, and they gave him an equivalent score when it comes to the IELTS. And then he's here now and he's studying. So go to the university you're applying for, check the different English language tests that they accept. If it's the IELTS, try to start preparing, because you might need that to get an unconditional offer. Some universities will give you a conditional offer if you've not fulfilled the English language requirements. And you have to fulfill their own requirements before they give you an unconditional offer. Conditional offer means you've been given admission on a condition that you submit XYZ. But for an unconditional offer, you've got admission, you don't need to do anything else. So you have to think about the English language stuff. And then one thing, the stress, the pain, yeah, it's a pain about the Commonwealth scholarship, or most scholarships that you're going to apply for. If you're interested in having scholarships in the UK, is preparing essays. There is loads of essays that you have to write. And one of the things that we realized while studying after we had the scholarship is the study system in this country is quite different from what we have in most of our home countries. And you realize that you have to write lots of essays. You write so many essays while studying, and they have to be sure that if they give you this scholarship, you're going to cope with the demands and the requirements of your program. That's why during the scholarship application process, they make sure that you do a lot of analysis in your essays. And there is quite a lot of prompts, and they give you so many word limits. In the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, if any of you has opened the portal and seen the essays, you're going to be like, in 100 words, talk about A, B, C, and D, in 250 words, in 150 words. This is preparing you for what you're going to actually experience when you start studying for this particular program. It's very important. So some people start applying for this scholarship. They see just the number of essays that they have to go through. They give up and they stop the application. Believe me, everybody that's got this has gone through all those essays. And depending on how you sell yourself, it's about selling yourself, you can get this scholarship, you know. And an important thing about Commonwealth scholarships, it's not only Commonwealth, it's going to apply for all the other opportunities that have been mentioned before me. It's about mentorship. Always find someone that is going to be your mentor. Approach people, send emails to people, and there is quite a lot of people out here who are available and willing to mentor others in their applications. I was mentored by someone who had the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, and I was lucky to be selected to represent, to be part of the scholarships for the 2020-2021. I've worked with other people. I've mentored a lot of people that have also had the scholarships. I work with Cynthia in most of his applications, you know, and it's a learning process for all of us. You know, you discover that each time you talk, you have a discussion with someone who has gone through the process, you have a lot of things to do. I changed my essays like 4 or 5 times, you know, when you've written something and you read it and in your mind, you know, oh, I have done it, you know, and then somebody reads it and tells you this thing does not make sense, you have to change it. It can be depressing. Patience has been the key word that has been mentioned throughout everything, and it's still going to be the key that I'm going to talk about as well. Mentorship. If there is anything that I've said and anything that I want you, anyone that is listening to me, to take home, it's about mentorship. There is so many people that have had these scholarships. There are so many platforms that find people that have gone through these scholarships. There is so many people that are out there organizing webinars and stuff all the time for these scholarships, especially Commonwealth and other scholarships in the UK. You just have to be alert. I think we have a mentorship group that I was part of from 2020. You know, I was mentored by people in that group. We've been mentoring others. We've had so many people that have had this scholarship. And every year we organize all these webinars and Twitter spaces, discussions, Zoom discussions about scholarships and having so many people participate. And I think it's something that you should keep an eye on. I might, at the end of this, if I don't forget, I might share a link to the WhatsApp group. There is a lot of people here that are part of the group already. There's other people who have no idea about it. I'm going to share the link, and it's a group. Nobody is going to ask you anything. You don't have to pay for anything. We are just trying to give the opportunities we had to other people who might need it. We were mentored by others to get to where we were. And at the same time, it's our duty to mentor others to also achieve their goals, because we all know where we come from. We all know how difficult it is. The average school fees for a funded program in this country is about, give or take, £12,000. That's quite a lot. There is no way on earth that I could have raised that amount of money, even in the next how many years, to pay for fees if I had to be self-funded. But then you have to be able to know how to get these opportunities. So I'm going to share that link. When you go through the application process, any questions that you have, just pop them on the group. Somebody is going to answer that. There's a lot of people on that group that are current or past scholars, and they are ready to help. And then talking about other opportunities, that was just the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. And before the scholarship runs out, I'm going to have a discussion with Cynthia. We might do a webinar just on the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, what you need to know, how to structure your essays. I think we'll have to look at what the essay requirements for this year are. And then you might come up with something just to discuss about how to structure your essays, how to approach different essays when it comes to Commonwealth Scholarship applications, how to structure yourself, how to plan your time, how to use your time effectively, how to use the opportunities that you have effectively. I think we're going to do that as well. And then just before the deadline, we're going to do like another, I think from the other group, there's a plan to do like a webinar on dotting your I's and crossing your T's when it comes to your scholarships before you eventually submit them. If you started the process already, you could always send us an email. Time permitting, we're going to respond and help and give our comments as soon as we can, which is very important, and it's going to help a lot of people. Away from the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, it's a general thing that I think we should do it as a habit. I know a lot of people in this very country that have had fully funded scholarships that are not part of the popular advertised ones, that are not the Chevenix or the Commonwealth or the different ones. Most universities in this country, which is the same thing like Isaac said when he was talking about the USA, have fully funded opportunities. And it's just about how to find these opportunities. Most often we'll go to websites, scholarship opportunities for Africans. And we're like, oh, we are going through a list and we don't know what to do. I'm going to give you a different approach. How do you go through this? If you're interested in a program and you want to study in the UK, for example, go to any university in the UK. There's always a list of universities in this country. Go to that university, open the university website, go to the program. Even before apply, you don't need to apply before going to anything. Go to the program website, go to the fees. When you go to fees, you're going to see home international students. Under that, you're going to see funding. under the funding option, you're going to see the different scholarships that are available for that particular program. And you're going to see the partially funded programs, you're going to see the fully funded scholarships, and you can apply for any of them as long as you're eligible. Another approach, once you've applied for any university in this country, almost always send an email to your recruitment or the admissions body and tell them, I've just applied for this program and I'm from this place. I've gone through the funding and stuff. I don't think I can be able to afford these fees. You know, is there any scholarship opportunities that are available? Some scholarship opportunities usually come up, but they are not put on the website. Some people have been lucky enough to get those ones. You send an email, they'll be like, oh, there is an opportunity that they're trying to get funding for, and it's for this and this. You could try it out, and then they give you links and you apply. It happens. If it's not available, they're going to tell you it's not available. Always try. Nobody is going to penalize you for saying that are there opportunities for me to fund my studies. Even people in this country, they have trouble funding their studies. That's why there's a lot of student loans, and a lot of them graduate from school with quite a large debt that they spend most time paying. But as long as there's opportunities and people that are willing to fund these programs, you can apply for them. Then my experience. I graduated from Faculty of Health Sciences, University of Boya, 2017, the same batch with the person that I taught previously, Brunhilda, the FIT batch. After my advanced level, I wrote the entrance exam. I failed very well. And then I started a program in UB, biochemistry. And somewhere in the middle, I decided to focus more on preparation for this concours. And luckily, the next year I passed, I started and I graduated. I was not the best student. I had an average GPA. And some people might be wondering, is it GPA dependent? Let me just do a comment. So most of these scholarships, they look at different aspects of your journey. They look at different aspects of your experience. There's always going to be that factor that your educational background plays, which comes down to your grades. It has its own percentage or its own role to play in you getting these opportunities. There's always going to be the factor where your experience out of school plays, because these people, they understand that not everybody's got the same opportunities to excel in school, but out of school, some people have done very well and they've got advantage on that aspect out of school, the work side, the experiences. That's why there's always going to be the leadership thingy. So it's always going to be a balance between your academic achievement and other experiences, which are going to be demonstrated in how you present your application and answering the different essays that are going to be part of the application process. So that's it. I graduated 2017. I applied for most of the scholarships that were available. I got the usual love letters, which are the rejections. You know, you get rejected and rejected over and over again. And these rejections, for some people, they just give up like, well, if I've been rejected, it means I've got no chance, you know, and why should I waste my time going through the process again? It's just about persistence and patience and strategy. After I applied the first year and I was rejected, I applied for everything, Chevening, Commonwealth, all the ones in Belgium and different countries. I went through it, I just went through my essays just to understand what happened, you know. And after reading my essays, I tried to put myself in the people that were awarding the scholarships' shoes. And I read my essays. And believe me, if I was on the other side, I would not have given myself any of the scholarships that I applied for. Because after I had learned from the experience of applying for these scholarships, and I took that and made my essays better than what I used in my previous applications, I did not change the core idea of what I was trying to portray. I did not change. I did not come back with a different story. I came back with the same story, but I just made the story better. that's what you should do. Cynthia applied for so many of them. I think I was in constant communication with him, you know, and it 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 was quite frustrating, because reading and knowing that you're applying for this and applying for this and you keep getting rejected. But he had to persist for almost 3 years, kept persisting, having different people read, having other mentors go through, putting all ideas, learning from your experience, trying to put yourself in the mind of the people that are reading this and trying to grade yourself and see if you can give yourself this thing is going to help. Persistence, patience, strategy. Find a strategy that works for you. My strategy was waking up at 1 a.m. every day and doing something on my essays. I programmed my brain to believe that I was most creative, and I had my peak level of smartness at 1 a.m. So 1 a.m. I wake up, I write my essays. Anything that I wrote out of the 1 a.m., 2 a.m. window, I thought it was rubbish. My brain was programmed that way. That's how I worked, and that's how I made my things better. Find a strategy, find something that works best for you. Always get somebody to review, get a mentor, get someone that has gone through any of these programs, and let them go through these things for you, and it's going to help you. Thank you very much. And I'm going to drop my personal email. If you need any more information about the Commonwealth Shared stuff, you should drop me an email about your questions. And please, when you're sending emails to any of us, try to make it direct, we beg, and just go straight to whatever information you need to know, and it's going to help us to answer those questions for you. Thank you very much, Cynthia.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tim. That was very insightful. Thank you very much for coming in, and I hope everyone attending is having value. Basically, that's the essence of it. We hope that you're going to do better where we failed. So thanks a lot, Dr. Tim. We're going to move to my own part. It's not going to be long. Thank you all for staying till now. I know it's not been easy staying up till this time. So I'm going to share my screen. I don't know why Dr. Isaac is insisting to introduce me, but I think I've already introduced myself. So
yeah. Yeah, so Dr. Ngek, you introduced everyone, but I think you deserve some introduction yourself. I say this because, well, let me just benefit as you're working the slides, you know. So Dr. Ngek and I know this guy from when he was little. This guy has moved from selling SIM cards as a street photographer. He has been the class prefect. He has been the chancellor of his secondary school. I know this guy, he graduated as the best student in his ordinary levels and advanced levels exams for his school and also for the entire Southwest region. I know this guy, he was the only person from his school that got into the medical schools in Cameroon. He went on to become the class delegate. He started the first ever research academy in Cameroon, which also deals with mentorship. He's the only Cameroonian in the pioneer batch for the Oxford Africa Initiative. I know this guy plays the piano. He's the president of his ex-students association. He's a writer, a blogger. He's a co-host on the show which we all watch, CRTV, Hello, Good Morning in CRTV Cameroon. This guy is into modeling. He has even won Mr. United Nations for Cameroon. That was, I think, 2022, if I'm not wrong. Dr. Ngek is a philanthropist. He is a seasoned researcher with so many published works. He's a fine gentleman. He's an excellent medical doctor. He's a friend, a brother, a mentor, and I hold him in high esteem. So please, let's welcome Dr. Ngek.
Are you done?
Anyways, yes, I'm
done. Let's keep all right, thank you very much, Isaac, for insisting. And well, all of that would not be possible without people like you around me and Team Divine and Brunhilda and a lot of other persons. So we're going to talk about Oxford applications. As you see, I am going to just let you know that it is competitive, but it is possible. Oxford came at a time when I had my application folder weighing 1.5 gigabytes. So if you imagine documents weighing 1.5 gigabytes in your computer, you can imagine the number of documents. So that was it. It came at the time when my mental health was at stake. But yeah, that is it. So the most important thing is for you to plan when you want to launch your product. And when I'm saying product is because I want you to understand that your AC, your applications, everything is a product. So it takes a lot of planning. So the first part is that you need to understand, you need to identify your course, you need to get what you need, and you need to also find the timelines. I'm going to drop the links to the Oxford platform application system, but let's just over the web page. So many pages open. Yeah. So basically, that's it. We have so many opportunities at the University of Oxford and abroad. And I really want you people today to know that yes, it's possible. You can do it. It's very possible. Zoom is not letting me see where my screen is. Great. So this is I just want to highlight this. Oxford has loads and loads of courses. So yeah, I'm going to drop this link in the chat section. You just need to go there, type your course and whatever you want to do, the PhD and the master courses, whatever you want to do. If it's in health, very good. Now, another thing is we have scholarships. Now, Oxford has over 150 internal scholarships for various reasons. You can see them on this page. Now, the good luck with this is that if you apply before the end of January, yeah, I think the latest deadline for scholarships this year is January. Once you have your admissions, you will be called up automatically for your scholarship, or you'll be called up for an interview depending on the scholarship body. So the scholarship I had this year, it's called the African Oxford Initiative Scholarship. And again, you see, we have undergraduate scholarships, we have master scholarships. So all of these things, this one came in automatically. Once I applied, I had my admissions into Oxford. They just called me that you initially set for this scholarship. It's worth this amount of money, blah, blah, blah. Send this to the academics department to confirm that you have funding. So basically, that is it. Now, what is the catch? If you're applying for Commonwealth, if you're applying for Fulbright, I think if you're applying for Chevening has already closed, you can as well use your scholarship, your Oxford admission in that scholarship scheme. So it gives you an opportunity in which you have 2 funding opportunities for 1 admission. Okay, so that was actually the catch. And believe you me, this course I also had a Commonwealth shared scholarship. And I remember talking to Tim at the time, I'm saying, what am I going to choose? Where are we going to? And we had to finally settle on Oxford. Yeah, but there were several reasons that came into that. So these are the links you want to visit immediately after this call. And find your course is most important. Find your course. And then once you register for your course, look at the scholarship, internal scholarships that are available, and just tick all of them that are eligible for Africans. Tick all of them. They will call you for one. Okay, that's most important. Now let's go back to my slides. Wait, so we've spoken about the application system is 100% online. Your personal statements, I've spoken a lot about your personal statements. I'm just going to throw a little bit light on that towards in the next slide. Your references, it's important to know that your references are people who know you, not necessarily professors, people who know your work. So it's very important. And like Dr. Tim said, you need to start talking to those people early, way ahead of time. Like now that you're continuing to apply, just send them an email that please doctor, please professor, please friend, I'm applying for this. When it's the right time, or saying I will need you to be my referee. You need to do that ahead of time. In Oxford, we have what we call a writing sample. Most courses will ask you for this. That is because you write a lot of essays. Like Dr. Tim said, most of our things here, you need to write a lot of essays. So it just demonstrates that you can write. So for those of you who've had scientific publications already, that would be a very good thing for you to just download from your journal page, copy, and put it in a document and paste in the 2000-page document I'm going to ask you to put. Okay, if you don't have a scientific publication, now is the time for you to think of a newspaper article, anything that is related to something you're interested in, and start writing. Most of us did MD thesis, right? So convert your thesis to an abstract. If you've never made it into an article, convert it into an abstract, filter all of those many things we did in your thesis and make it very short to suit 2,000 words or 4,000 words, and prepare it for your application, because that is going to be a good sample to show that you've written an academic write-up. All of us here, if you're in a medical field, if you've gone to the University of Yaoundé, I know that you have a project that you write at the end of your thesis, so at the end of your course, so it's very important. Timelines, applications in Oxford opens in October. That was similar to most of it. The first deadline is in December, but most of the times we tell you not to bother about this deadline, but this deadline is just for those who are applying early. It is what we refer to this deadline as the first scholarship deadline, because those who fail to apply at this time, you still have January to catch up, which is the final deadline. If you don't apply by the end of January, you will not be eligible for all internal Oxford scholarships. Okay, and also it's at that time that you're submitting most of your references, and most of your references are being contacted. So it's very important that you note this. In March, you start getting conditional or complete offers. Okay, and it's in March that they close up entry for all courses, like they don't take admissions again, because I think there are some courses that are open for admission till March. But the challenge is that if you're applying for such courses, you're going to fund yourself. So basically that's so. But we in Cameroon were interested in January deadline. You have to ensure that by January you've completed your application. Now, Dr. Tim mentioned it already, and every other person mentioned it. You don't need your IELTS and everything to get admission. Okay, you don't need that. Yes, you need it to get a completed offer, but to start your application, start applying. So we always encourage you, get done with your applications by latest January. Focus on having your IELTS by latest March, and then you are good to go. Most of the programs in Oxford, they'll ask you for at least a band 7.5 and above. 7.5 means you need to have at least 7.5 in all of the bands. So in writing, speaking, listening, and reading. So you need to do that. I think that's the minimum for all the courses in Oxford. So it's really high. You need to start preparing for that way ahead. So that is the timeline. Now, my area of focus here would just be, one, your personal statement. Like I said, you need to start writing as soon as possible. Dr. Tim's method, writing a paragraph a day, finding the best time to write is very important. Why do I say you should write it fast? Because you need to send it for people to review. Have a lot of people review, people want your field, and most importantly, non-technical reviews. So we are writing in health, you might send it to somebody who is in journalism. Really, if it makes sense to that person, then your application is game. I remember I had sent my applications to my siblings who were not in health. Each time when they tell me that I'm not really understanding what you're saying, I know that then I'm not communicating, because yes, the person in HR, the person reviewing application might not necessarily, the first line of screening might not necessarily be an expert in your field before it gets there. They do the filtering. So basically you have to make your application really, really appealing. So in the plan, I would just say it has to be while you're choosing Oxford, while you're choosing this particular course, and why they should select you. And that goes a lot to talk about your leadership and the value the course is going to give you that you're going to do after that. And then what next? Basically, your career plan. So this is the general template for your personal statements. We're going to, time permits, like the team said, we're going to have another session where we'll just work on these particular things and let people understand what they need to put in for particular universities, particularly for the Commonwealth, and maybe those of us in the UK, and maybe we'll talk with our speakers in the US too, if we can do that. Now, when you're documenting all of this, have a coherent story. What Dr. Tim said, we applied severally, but our stories were consistent. It was the same story, but now it was better structured. It was improved. The English was okay. It had more impact. So basically, that's it. Your CVs, send them for people to review them, and it has to be consistent with even your story that you're telling in your personal statements and maybe in your writing sample. Transcripts, like we said, most of our universities in Cameroon are approved in the UK, so you just need to ensure that you have your transcript and then you send it to your university in time. For Oxford, what will happen is that once you are given a conditional offer in March, you're going to then share. You have to contact your records office. Mine was University of Boyan. I sent an email to the records office and the transcript office, and then they had to get the link that University of Oxford sends to me and upload my transcript there. Remember that during my application, I uploaded the transcript. But no, the university has to do their own. And then the University of Oxford does a counter verification between what I have submitted and what the university will submit. So you see that those are two levels of screening. And then now the English requirements came in. One thing that's very important about your references is that they need to be people who know you in Oxford. You need to have academic referees, so you need to go back to your university lecturers, especially those who you've been in contact with since you graduated. It's very important. One thing I'll let you know is that all of these lecturers are willing to write recommendations, so don't be afraid to email them. Call them, email them, visit them, discuss with them. Like now, you're preparing to apply and they need their references by December or January. Email them now, prepare their mind, so that they will have you once you come them at that time. They're going to do your work. Professional is very important. So the balance is you need at least 2 for your applications to be processed, but they always ask for 3. So always ensure that you strike a balance. You have one person that knows you at work and one person that knows you back in school, and then you have one other person that you add. But have at least 2 reviews that you are confident that are going to write about you. So basically, that is it. So I'm going to just drop these links, which talk about the various courses in Oxford, the African Oxford Scholarship, which has been increased this year to up to 50. So those of you who are applying as Cameroonians, you might not see the African Oxford Scholarship in the list of scholarship because it's going to be automated. But again, they've done a mentorship program, which I'm part of it, and applications closed on Friday for those who joined the mentorship program. And those who joined the mentorship program, the advantage is that you will not have application fee. University of Oxford, the application fee is £75, so you can convert that to, it's like 80,000 francs CFA. So yeah, if you are in the scholarship program, if you're in the mentorship program for African graduates, then you not have to pay that fee. Okay? By the time the African Oxford start contacting you. But again, aside from that, I know other Cameroonians who are in Oxford, who were in Oxford, but they didn't have the African Oxford. They had other scholarships, which gave them their funding as well. So there are other internal scholarships like I elaborated. So just populate this list and go through and ensure that your application is up to date. We will be available to review your essays if you can be very specific in your email and you send ahead of time. That is why here I said write ASAP. If you need your thing to be submitted in 1 month, it means you need to do it 1 month ahead. So you need to always anticipate because people have different time schedules and a lot. So you need to think of those people's time that you need to borrow. So do things way ahead of time and it's going to help you. Basically, that is it about Oxford. There's a lot that's really being shared, and I'm happy that we are still up to 29 in the call, which is very good. And we're going to convert all of these slides to a PDF and share with you. This is being recorded. We're going to share the link later. For those who registered through the emails, you're going to receive an email with the link in it for those who registered for the Zoom. For those who didn't register, maybe the person that said share the link with you, you're going to get that. So basically, to summarize from what everybody has said, it is competitive, it is possible, and you can do it. I didn't share my story because of time, but if you want to know about me, you can check on LinkedIn. You see my story there about this application process, and Dr. Tim Divine, Dr. Bronhida Tifu have all been very instrumental in my application process as well. Very supportive and being there when I was crying, when I had rejections and so on and so forth. It was long. It was a long journey, but I believe that we can share these opportunities with you and you do better where we fail. So that is the end of my presentation. I'm going to stop here, and we have Mr. Akaba James of Open Dreams in the call. Open Dreams is a Cameroonian organization that helps facilitate scholars get learning opportunities outside the country. It's an honor to have Mr. Akaba James in our midst. He has a lot of experience in this, and it will be unjust for me or for any of us in this panel not to recognize his presence. I am just so happy that he joins in the call. And sorry that we're putting you on the spot. Maybe you didn't plan to talk, but we cannot see a great man in our midst, and it's not part of our tradition. Our ancestors will be angry with us. Please, Mr. James, I know you didn't plan for this, but we'll be happy if you have a word or two to say to all those who've been to this call till this time, because I think you are maybe the surprise pack that was left for this call, and you came in at the right time. Mr. James, if you're there, please, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. It is a great delight, to be part of this fascinating session. For far too long, we have been left behind. For far too long, there have been so many quacks in the scholarship system. For far too long, many people's dreams have been frustrated because they just turn around and the world loses some key potential. We're happy that there is a new awakening. Technology has broken down barriers, and people who have experienced firsthand the education through scholarship are beginning to speak out loud, which is what should be happening. Sometimes I get to ask questions that there are scholarships here. Why would you want to leave it out and begin to apply as a fee-paying student just to be struggling? Maybe just because you don't want to write a few more essays, you don't want to take an exam, you just want things to happen now. And understanding that sometimes scholarship takes a leadership engagement, it takes so much work, it takes you to prove your ability to give back, just like you are all doing. So today I'm very happy to, experience this. I'm talking actually from Maryland, USA, and Open Dreams was founded in New York. We have moved the headquarters though to California, and for 10 years now we've been operating in Cameroon and South Africa and across Africa as part of the Highly Access Network, and then here in the US too as part of the International ACSC. We're also in Europe as part of the Council of International Schools. We've been able to get into the world of scholarships, the world of opportunities. And this year particularly, I've never seen as many scholarships at the graduate level for our 10 years of existence as I have seen this year. We know in the 1992s, when the countries went into economic recession, scholarships went down, actually for Cameroon. When COVID-19 hit, a lot also changed. But then it looks like the scholarships are getting shifted for all of them to get, put out this year. So when I look at people around and I feel like, oh, doesn't this person know that there are so many great opportunities? It takes just maybe 1, 2, 3 nights of sacrifice and you change your life forever. Sometimes you hold 300,000, you feel like this is so much money, but just taking an exam with that 300,000 can unlock $80,000. In fact, I'm happy to hear what Dr. Tim there said, our part at Trust in the Classroom some years back, that he could never have paid the school that fee for his next life or whatever. But I myself, I did have a scholarship in the US. And when I looked at the amount of money and when I look at the facilities, when I look at how the people were treating me like a king, I said, I'm here, I don't have money to pay school fee, but you respect me more than people who are paying money from their pocket. Every time you want me to speak somewhere, you are protecting me. I'm the newspapers. I was like, wow. Well, I can just go on and on. I'm happy that we are at this level. Please, the Cameroon that we have has to be built by us. Yeah. In fact, people get frustrated when there's nobody who shows care. And if we can only help somebody through speaking, through mentorship, for that person to become better, I bet you, and this duplicates, we build resilient societies. So I'm so happy with this initiative, and we at Open are very open. Thank you again, once again, Dr. Isaac, for really doing this networking. It's not enough for us to have this conversation. let's keep the follow-up. I'm happy that you're already talking of, people contacting, and let's continue to spur some of our people, because they may be already so used to, just filling one simple form and dropping at the university and waiting for your name. But when the scholarship journey that takes 1 year becomes like daunting, or they submit once and then get it, they feel like giving up. Together, through hard work, we can make that dream come true. They say teamwork make the dream work. And teamwork is not only at the level of individuals, it's also at the level of organizations. Thank you so much. Let me allow you, and thank you for this surprise.
Thank you very much, sir. It's a humbling pleasure to have you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We can go on and on based on our stories, and Mr. James, Open Dreams has done a lot of scholars. I'm going to drop the link to Open Dreams in the chat section. If you haven't heard of Open Dreams, you should follow them. You should. Whether you're in medicine or out of medicine, it's very important. This now is just the final bit of our session.
It is the same thing. I'm sorry for cutting in. It's the same thing. Because when you finish this, you send us the link to the recording so that we can spread it as wide as possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah. So I'm going to drop the link here, and then we're just open to any questions. If your questions haven't been answered, we've been trying to answer questions in the chat. I am going to just look at the chat section if there are any questions that have not been answered. And if any of the speakers have any final words, please, we can turn on our cameras. It's just time for discussion. We might take 5 more minutes, and then we'll take our closing screenshot selfie, as we used to call it, and we'll call it a day. Any questions, any worries, anything that has not been answered, please, now is the time. Hello. All right, so in the chat sections, there are links to several things. We're going to share the video recording, and these links are going to be attached, as well as a link to our presentations in the Zero format. So basically that's it. If there are no questions, because I don't see any questions coming in, we want to say thank you for everyone who has been from the beginning. So now, Dr. Isaac, I don't know if you have anything to say.
No, I was pointing out King CJ was asking about whether the African Oxford Initiative is fully funded.
Yes, it's fully funded. All scholarships in Oxford are fully funded, and the African Oxford Scholarship, I would say, it's the best scholarship in Oxford now for international students, because these guys received me from the airport. Like I had a very luxurious car, that not a bus, a private car, luxurious one, that carried me from the airport to my accommodation, and there was somebody waiting for me at my accommodation, taking me to the market to get my first things, and they had a credit card ready to give me that I would use while I was settling in. I think the African Oxford Initiative, it's different. It's different, and I'm happy that those of us who are coming in were joining the team of 6 that were there to actually make it better. So applications closed for mentorship yesterday on Friday, and now is the review time. I think those who applied for mentorship, you'll be receiving emails from AfriSoc. Yeah, you'll be receiving emails. So just be keen, but go ahead with your applications. Go ahead with your applications, because even if you pay for your application fee, keep the receipt. Even if you pay for your application, keep the receipt, because once you get the mentorship thing, we are going to recommend that you send the payment details, and your refund is going to, and your bank details, and your refund is going to be given. Like, for instance, myself, I paid my flights to get here just because I did not want to convert France CFA to pounds. So I paid my flight details. And when I got here, they refunded that for me. So that was easier. So it was really good for me. I'm seeing questions about, is it too late to apply? No, you can apply and you'll be selected. So what I was saying is that it's late. The mentorship program was different. So in the mentorship, it's different in the sense that we are, I think we are like 20 of us already who have volunteered to be mentors. And what we're going to be doing is that the African Oxford is going to assign all Africans who have indicated on that form to mentors. And you're going to have a mentor that is going to work with you through the application process. That's actually the plan, and it's what we proposed when we came here, because some of us were lost getting into Oxford. So thanks God for people like Tim and the rest who supported us to get used to the UK system, because the system is really different. So basically, that's it. When you're applying, you can applications for University of Oxford are open till January for scholarships. So when you're applying, you're going to check all the scholarships that are for Cameroonians or for international, for Africans, low and middle income countries. You're going to check all of that. And once your application is, once your admission is granted, you are going to be called up for a scholarship automatically. Now, some scholarships might have some things. Maybe they'll ask you that you have to come in for an interview or so on and so forth. In my time for African Oxford, they didn't interview me. They just called me and told me that when you have received a fully funded offer from African Oxford Initiative, blah, blah. That's when I went to go and check their website and say, hey, oh, this existed. And then I just took the funding offer, sent it out to the department that had given me admission, and the department now confirmed my place, and then they sent the visa things I needed to submit for visa application. So basically, that's it. It's a process. This is just like a foundation. We received a lot of people asking for guidance, and that is what made us say, let's just do a webinar, let's just do a Zoom session and share all of this information to as many people that will come in at once. It's going to help us also save time and be more effective. So yes, you can still apply to Oxford. It's not late, and you can once you apply, you're going to get either the African Oxford Scholarship or another scholarship that is eligible for Africans. I don't know if I answered the questions in the chat completely. All right. Thank you. Okay, any other worries? We have some people joining. It's unfortunate that we're rounding up. So on this note, we want to plead with everyone who can to turn on their cameras. We're going to take a family selfie, and then we're going to call it a day. All right. So we're taking a screenshot in 5, 4, 2, 1, cheese. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I wish you all the best in your application. It would warm our heart if we see a lot of persons who are in this call in the US, in the UK, in Canada, studying what they had always want to study. Feel free to reach out to any of us. We've shared our emails in the chat section. So we want you all to make the most of this opportunity. God bless you all, and see you at the top. Or the bottom is very crowded. Good night, everyone. Goodbye, good morning, good afternoon.